I wanted to go over 2 more questions from Bjarne's C++ book, or I guess the exercises for that book. And these are pretty simple. How do you read and write a boolean, a character, an integer, a double, and a string? Even though this seems like a very simple thing, I actually learned a lot, so I want to share some of that learnings with you guys. First, I think it's important to mention that when this book was created, it's for C++ 11, at that point, we didn't have Println, std Println. This is something that is available to us now in C++ 2023. I hear it takes some time to get these implemented, so hopefully soon you can use std Println. But for the purpose of this tutorial, I'm going to stick with what is in C++ 11. I'm going to remove that, and we're just going to do something pretty simple. How do we print out in C++? The first thing that we're going to need to do is include the iostream. Now the iostream, if you kind of go to that file, you'll see that it's got cin, cout, things like that. Turns out that in C++, the way that you print out to the console is you use std cout. I wonder if that means console out. So I've defined a boolean here that is set to true, a default character that is h, default integer at 10, a default double at 123.123, a default string at hello world. So let's save this file. I'm going to open up the terminal, and what we can do is do make o1-cout, which is the name of the file, and if I press enter, it's going to make that file. And now I could just do /o1, and if I print that, we're going to print these default values. So we've got bool, character, integer, double, string. Now the interesting thing here is that bool is set to true. However, when we're printing it out, we are printing it with a 1. If you want to display it with the actual string of true, what you need to do is to write std bool alpha and then type in default bool like this. I'm going to save that file. I'm going to remake o1, and once I do that, I can do /this, and here you can see that the first time I'm printing out bool, I'm just doing it the normal way, and the second time I'm kind of specifying to C++ to convert that 1 into a true or a false. So if it's a 0, it's going to be converted to a false. So this is how you do very simple printing in C++. Now the next thing that I want to talk about here is taking in variables. So again, we're going to need to import iostream because we're going to want that std-cin this time around. And now you can see here that we are doing a cin with my bool. I've defined both a boolean and a character. What I'm doing here is I'm printing out input label and a colon with a space, and after that I'm saying take in the boolean and put it in this variable. And I'm doing the same thing with the character. And of course, at the end, I'm just printing out those variables. Now, here's something interesting. We can run make and do o2. And if I do o2 like this, suppose I put in something like false. That's actually going to error out because, again, C++ does not know that I'm putting in the word false. So if I want false to work, I actually have to do this such that first pass in this std bool alpha, and then I have to pass in my bool inside of the cin. So if I do this now, if I remake the file, and if I do this, and now I pass in false, it should work. And now if I press, I don't know, for the character, we'll just put I. So again, here you can see that it's printing out 0 for false and I for the character. So again, something to keep in mind. I never really thought about this as a JavaScript developer. Like I can't just say true or false. So this was pretty interesting for me that I needed to like specify that I'm passing in the word false, and that's essentially getting converted to 0 or 1. Now the last part of it is adding in the strings. So again, go iostream because we're going to need these standard functions like cout and cin. Here I've defined these variables like my bool, my character, my integer, my double, and my string. Now notice here that, there's no default variable for string, so you're going to need to use the std string variable. the interesting thing actually happens is when we're entering the string. So let's run this file and see what happens. I'm going to make 03, and now I'm going to do ./03. So for bool, let's just put in 1 for true. For char, let's put in I. For integer, I'll put 1, 2, 3, and then for double, I'll put 1, 2, 3, .1, 2, 3. And now for the string, I want to put in hello world. Now the interesting thing that happened here is that the string didn't really take note of the second word. So when I tried this the first time, I was like surprised at how to get that to work. So I ran it again. So I did 1, I, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and then I did hello, I don't know, / world, to see if that works. But no, again, it didn't work. So if you want to get the whole string in, there's a different way you have to take in the string. You can't just say stdcin my string, because it's only going to take in the first word. So what you're going to need to do is to do std getline, and then pass in stdcin and my string here. Now, this actually doesn't fully work because this will get confused by the previous value here. So basically, once I press in my double, I press enter, right? And so this getline function, I guess, gets confused by that. So what you have to actually do is to do stdcin.ignore. So right after kind of taking in this variable, you need to ignore that enter key, and then you need to get the line. Now let's run it again one more time. I'm going to make the third file again, and now I'm going to do ./03. Now for the bool, I'm going to put in 1. For the character, I'm going to put in a. For integer, I'll do 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, .1, 2, 3 for the double, and now for the string, I'll do hello world with an exclamation mark. And now we see that it's working as expected. Bool is true. The characters and the integers and the doubles worked, but now we finally got the string to work and actually get the whole line instead of just the first word, which again is a little bit confusing, but I guess it does make sense that you have to explicitly say, get the entire line, not just the word. It's very interesting, I'll say, like working in C++, coming from JavaScript, that I have to be super explicit in everything. I actually like it a lot because it forces me to think what I'm doing rather than just saying like, oh yeah, it'll just kind of work. And that's kind of how my brain has been wired so far, coming from the JavaScript land. So this has definitely been a welcome change to realize like, oh, actually, you know, you can't just do cin and expect it to work the way you want it to. You have to like specify things, and also how you display a boolean, like technically it's a 0 or a 1, and if you want to display it as true or false, you have to like pass in a different setting. So there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes in C++, and I find all of this pretty interesting. I didn't think I'd make a video on something as simple as input and output, but it was actually pretty interesting. So yeah, here we are. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys next time.